Truck Talk Media.
C10 Talk. Bonus episode. That's right, a bonus episode. Coverage from this year's NORRA 1000 down in Mexico. Vintage vehicles, rubbing, racing, and running. Sounds fun, right? Here we go.
You know, I feel privileged to be able to come down and do an event like this and race a Baja in Mexico in this day and age, and do it like the old guys used to do it back in the day. We wear, open face helmets and grow mustaches and try to be true to the spirit of what off-road racing was like back in the day.
Damn, son. Hey guys, I've got David Odegaard, product manager, United Pacific Industries. David, what's the latest?
One of our hottest items is the side mirrors with the directionals built into them, the LED arrow. These look cool. They look original. And however, when you're driving at night and you're changing lanes, that guy that sits in your blind spot, we all know who he is. He'll see that you're indicating and you're coming over. And there's a great safety factor with these mirrors, and they look cool too.
Blind spot guy, we don't want you there, but the United Pacific side mirrors, they work great. I have them on Orange Slice. I love them. How about the guys that are looking to go long bed to short bed? What are you guys offering them?
Yeah, we have all the parts for the 67 to 72 bed, new bed floors or whatever you may need, a new bedside, or that bed front that's always been smashed in by 50 years of stuff being, hauled in the bed.
Yeah, these trucks have been worked so hard over the years. We love that about our trucks, but you might have a floor that's dinged up. You need some parts. United Pacific's got it for you. What else are you guys working on?
Later this summer, we're going to have the front parking lights for the square bodies 73 to 80. These are full LED. They've got the deluxe stainless steel trim around them. And, it's just a plug and play installation. And it's that final missing piece to convert your square body completely over to LED.
Perfect. So if you guys need some directional mirrors, some bedsides, bed floor, or maybe some LED lighting, United Pacific, upcarparts.com. That's upcarparts.com. But wait, there's more. You can save 15% by using code C10Talk15. That's C10Talk15 to save 15%. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Ronnie. We'll see you out there on the road.
Let me tell you what Melvin's Post is packing right here. I've got 411 Posi track out back, 750 double pumper, Edelbrock intakes, scored over 30, 11-1 pop-up pistons, turbojet, 390 horsepower. We're talking some bucking muscle.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 truck podcast.
And now I have a chance to be the best, maybe the best in the world.
My old man is a television repairman. Ultimate set of tools. I can fix it.
I said I got 50 cents in that jukebox, and all I can hear is your mouth clapping. You hear that?
Here's your host, Ronnie Welch.
What's up? What's up? C10 Nation coming at you with something a little different. How about, first of all, substitute teacher time? Yep. My homie, Humberto Ortiz, Vulcan Specialties, was down south, Mexico, covering the NORRA 1000. And he put together some pod, and I thought, hey, this would be a perfect one for a little bonus for C10 Nation, C10 Talk while I'm on vacation. So this week, you're going to get a little bonus from the NORRA 1000. You might think, what the hell's the NORRA 1000? Well, get online and check it out because I'm not that versed in it. I do know some people who have run in it and raced in it. I do dig what he's going to cover is the vintage stuff. So they have a vintage class, and you have to have so much that's vintage. You really can't have a lot of modified stuff. So if you're going to be down there racing and it's in the vintage class, then there's only so much you can do to modify. It's pretty cool. And guys are spending money and time and chasing their passion and having a good time. So Berto went down there and put together a little pod for you. Perfect for a little bonus. See what you guys think. I kind of think it'd be cool if you guys had some substitute teachers every now and then because, get some variety in there for you. What do you think? Let me know. Let me know what you think about this because we're branching out and you're getting something completely different than normal. You're like, well, let's C10 Talk. Yeah, come on. It is C10 Talk. Still going to be C10 Talk, but rad vintage rigs is really still rad, especially if they're in Mexico running the NORRA 1000. Right? Let me know what you think. If you're like, dude, this is a horrible idea, then I'm sure I'll hear about it. And then if it's a great idea, I guess I won't hear about it. So let me know. Ronnie at Truck Talk Media, Ronnie at Truck Talk Media. The only other thing I do have, I should mention it, was because I didn't think I'd have a show this week. The Piedmont Traction guys threw out that they have their cruise, cookout, and swap meet this weekend, June 18th and 19th. So this coming weekend, the 18th and 19th in Mooresville, North Carolina. Piedmont Traction, it's Piedmont, PIEDMONT_traction 1270. Piedmont Traction. They're going to have their cruise, cookout, and swap meet June 18th and 19th, Mooresville, North Carolina. Okay? So I'll add that one in, and then I'll get back to my normal list after that. But since I didn't really plan on doing a show this week, I didn't know if I was going to get a chance to announce that. But you're getting substitute teacher, you're getting some NORRA love, you're getting some education. Something a little different. Broaden those horizons. Let me know what you think. All right, guys. Have a great week. Late.
All right. Good day, Truck Talk listeners. Truck Talk Media. This is your host, Humberto Ortiz at Vulcan Specialties. I'm usually one of the guys with D100 Talk, but today I'm going a little bit out of my element, and I'm covering all kinds of things for you guys. We usually talk trucks. We usually talk products. We talk individual projects, we talk shows, but I've got something different for you guys today. I had the unique opportunity to go with a friend south to Mexico, Baja, Mexico. That's right, off-road racing. So, truck fans, off-road fans, this one's for you. Pause it, tell your buddies to get online, load it up so he can listen to, or she. So, my unique opportunity came from a buddy of mine local to me. Again, I'm in West Texas. Bryant Blakemore of Taquacha Motorsports is a local guy who for the past 6, 7 or so years has been doing off-road racing and even organizing off-road races here in Texas. He has been doing this for the past few years, everything from racing his own Dodge truck to racing in a program and being part of the chase team to what we did this year, which is called Sweep and Recovery. Simply said, Sweep and Recovery is where we go in with an adequate vehicle, help people if they need help, keep people safe. Our racers just need to be able to get to safety, get off the course, be able to get to their team. It's our job to make sure that happens. We keep the course clean and clear, and we make a good day of racing if we can. So Sweep and Recovery is what we did. But we have tons in this podcast, from getting some interviews there at Tech and Contingency, on the racetrack interviews, and some post interviews. So we've got a lot to cover here. We've probably got a good hour or so of this kind of content, and it's a little bit all over the place, but I know you'll enjoy it. Again, I'm from Texas. My buddy Bryant and I went to San Diego, where the San Diego-Tijuana border is. We crossed south there to the lovely city of Ensenada, which is about another hour and a half south. And there is where the start of the 2021 NORRA 1000, or the Mexican 1000, takes place. They call this race the happiest race on earth. I can back that up. This race is absolutely amazing. I think what makes this race so much better than the others, even the same Baja style race that they run later in the year, is that this is not a just start to finish race, complete endurance. If it takes 24 hours to 50 hours, that's what it takes. This is a scheduled race from one destination to the next each day. They're running 250 to over 300 miles each day on a certain course. This event usually is a peninsula run, which goes from the Ensenada Santo Tomas area all the way down south to Cabo, which is a just beautiful place to run. The scenery is amazing. The terrain changes quite often. It's an amazing place to see in 1 week of time. This year, because of COVID restrictions, we were not able to go to Baja Sur, southern Baja, Mexico. What we did is a loop. So we started in Santo Tomas, where Horsepower Ranch is. We did Tech and Contingency there. Day one of racing went to San Felipe. Then we went to Bay of LA. In Bay of LA, on the third day, we did a loop where we started and finished in the same town. And then we started heading back north, again back to San Felipe, then to Horsepower Ranch. for the final checkered flag. And speaking of Horsepower Ranch, the history of Horsepower Ranch is just amazing. We're going to put some links on these sites for you guys and on my IG page for sure, so you guys can follow along and see some of the stuff I'm talking about. But the history of this amazing property goes back before off-road machines. I mean, some of the stories of some of these ranches in Mexico are pretty amazing. Baja started in the 60s and 70s. It got super popular. This ranch was restored and is now called Horsepower Ranch. Some guys with some money came in there and built this whole place. It's turning into a resort kind of destination, but it's the coolest place. You guys can go online on my page, and we'll start posting some stuff as this thing is released, so you can see what I was able to see. This Horsepower Ranch is a full, it's a full destination. They have places to stay, full bar, events there. There's an actual race site there where they are building some of these off-road race vehicles. So the happiest race on earth, it's because it's super chill. You race every day, one section. At the end of the day, you chill out, you drink some beers, you have some good tacos, you fix your truck, you get some sleep, you wake up in the morning, you do it all over again. 5 days of racing for this. It is the coolest thing. Now the classes for this ranges everything from bikes, UTVs, and both two-wheel and four-wheeled classes, vintage trucks and cars, all the way to modern vehicles. Of course, I went to cover the vintage trucks, so we're going to get some great interviews from the Mac West racing team. The Weston boys treated me just awesome, gave me some insight, gave me some tips and tricks even if I get interested into building something like this, which I'm not going to lie. If you guys follow me, you know that I am real big into, just low, big boats. And this is the opposite. This is lightweight, race cars, race trucks. I came back wanting to do this. It is the coolest experience. We talked to the Weston boys, Trevor Glidden. We talked to Boyd Janes at his 68 Bronco, El Caballo de Diablo. That is a winning Bronco. Unfortunately, this year he had some problems. You'll hear later on what happened. We spoke to Chris Greenwood, the number 35 72 Bronco. We talked to his crew shortly. We talked to Chris Sullivan, El Santo Racing, a 1966 Ford F100, number 866. Just an awesome story. We do some post interview with Chris and kind of get his story just because I loved his truck. And we got to witness a debut of a 72 K5 Blazer, number 222. This is Kelson Motorsports with a beautiful restored and prepped off-road vehicle. So you guys stick around. You're going to enjoy what we got coming at you. This is off-road racing, Baja, Mexico, Truck Talk Media. Truck Talk Media. All right, Truck Nation, this is Humberto Ortiz, your host with Truck Talk Media. You've heard me on D100 Talk before, but today we have got great, exciting news. We are covering an off-road race. Today is kind of the tech and inspection for everything. We are in Mexico, Baja. This is where the fun happens. So to start this off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk with Bryant Blakemore of Tecuache Motorsports. He is local to me in Lubbock, Texas. He's going to give us an intro of what's going on here and what to expect. I've traveled with him west from Texas through San Diego and now down south into Mexico. And we are here kind of day one. Racing starts in a couple days, but there's a lot going on before then. Bryant, give us an introduction to who you are. Give us your tags, your handles. First of all, how can we find you?
Sure, I'm on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. You can look up Tecuache_motorsports on Instagram. That's where I post most of my stuff. I'm a first generation off-road racer, hot rodder, event promoter, and man, I just love motorsports and got involved in off-road racing a few years ago. Dove in head first, bought a race truck, started racing, started a race organization in Texas to put on desert races, and I've been addicted to it ever since. I think it's the coolest motorsport form there is out there, and I'm glad to be able to provide opportunity for anybody to participate or come see things and check it out.
So you've been doing this for, I guess, just a short time now, but like you said, you went in head first. You went and got you a truck. What made you go into this, and what year did you get your truck and just dive into it?
So yeah, I'm addicted to cars my entire life in some form or another. When I was about 7 years old was the first time I learned about Baja. Some family friends showed me some pictures of when they were racing in Mexico. Baja bugs and whatnot from like the 70s. And it was just something that stayed in the back of my brain my entire life, and I never really knew what to do with it until about 2015. I had a 1,000 horsepower compound turbo Cummins street truck, and I sold that, and so I had a little cash, and I said, you know what, let's go to Baja and let's race Baja. I called up a couple buddies and said, hey, I want to do this. I know that you guys have the means and the time and some of the interest to be a part of this. Do you want in? Absolutely, let's do it. And so the three of us teamed up, and we started shopping for a truck, and we knew we wanted, being from Texas, we wanted a V8 and a pickup truck. That's what we got to have. Those were our only two rules. And the price was under 20 grand, 25 grand. That's all we wanted to spend. Well, after a couple months of shopping, we finally got a hit on the Race Desert Classified site. One of my partners in the race team sent me a link. He said, man, if you'd seen this, I know you would have said something. And there it was. It was an 03 crew cab, 2500 four-wheel drive Dodge. And being Dodge guys, all three of us had owned a version of that truck in some form or another. We said, that's the one. But it was in Canada. And we thought, oh, man, this is going to be, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to make this work. And the price was a little high. They were asking $25K for it, which was right on, a little past our upper limit. So I said, you know what, let's just call the guy and find out. And gave him a call, and the listing said that the price was in Canadian dollars. Well, I had never done that conversion because I don't go north very often. I go south. And I was like, well, what does that come out to? It was like 19.5. No kidding. That's perfect. Within our budget, deal. Called the guy. Hey, man, I like your truck. I've imported race cars into the United States before. I know that this is going to take some time for me to do everything legally. I want your truck. Do I need to put down a deposit on it or anything like that? And all he asked me was, what are you going to do with it? And I said, we're going to go to Baja and race it. He said, nope, it's yours. Tell me when you're ready to come get it. No deposit, nothing needed. It's yours. And I said, okay. And it took me 3 months to put all the paperwork together to legally import it. And then we drove up to Canada in November over Thanksgiving. And I test drove the truck, and it was like minus 12 degrees and icy and snowing. And it was the coolest thing I'd ever done in my entire life up until that point. And we loaded that sucker up and hauled it back to Texas through a couple winter storms and whatnot. And, man, the rest is history. That same year that I bought the truck, I also was asked to start a desert racing association in Texas and start putting on desert races. So when I say I jumped in head first, I mean, that's it. I gave up everything else that I was doing aside from my day job to pay for all of this, to go full bore into desert racing.
So head first, absolutely, man. You went full bore. Race truck, putting on events, going to another country to grab a truck. The conversion worked in your favor. That's a good thing. So let's fast forward now. So that was 2016. Now we're 2021. What the hell am I doing sitting next to you in a chase truck? Tell me about your truck that we're using this week, and let me know what I'm in for, and tell me my duties.
Sure. So, 2016 was our first year of racing. I've been down here to Baja every year starting then, and every event for this NORRA Mexican 1000. So the truck, we'll start with the truck, and then we'll go through what we do here in Baja and what our duties are going to be during this particular event. So right now we're sitting in a 2013 Ram 3500. It is a 1-ton dually, but when I use this truck in the capacity in which we're using it at this event, which is off-road recovery, I take the duals off and I put on a set of Raceline wheels beadlocks, and I run 37-inch tires all the time. This truck's got Thurin suspension, King shocks, Synergy drag link. It's got all the good suspension pieces underneath it. The rear leafs are still completely stock, but that's because the truck weighs 11,000 pounds empty. I've got a service bed off a 1988, like an OBS Chevy dually. That bed used to help maintain Sam Houston State University. And I got it real cheap. I don't like to spend a lot of money on things whenever I can, and I've built a rack for it to hold two 37-inch spare tires that swing out so I can access the bed. I've built, along with a buddy of mine, we do all of our own fab work and whatnot. We built a rack to go over the roof that holds lights to help us work and lights to help us see, as well as carry gear whenever we're there. When the truck's decked out for racing, it weighs about 13,000 pounds, and we have to carry everything. So it's decked out as a service truck the whole time. Carries a bunch of tools whenever they don't get stolen out of the truck, and I try to go everywhere I can prepared for any situation, whether it's my own vehicle needing something or the vehicles that we're rescuing.
Yeah, let me interject there real quick. Number one, real fast, he mentioned when they're not getting stolen. We'll cover that a little bit later. We had a day 3 mishap where the truck was kind of ransacked, all the toolboxes. That was complete bullshit, but onward and staying positive. The other thing I wanted to mention is you're rolling this truck that you just described on 37s. We drove this truck from Texas all the way to where we are now. Thousands of miles you're going to clock on this before we get back. So this isn't one of those trucks that, we're just going to use off-road and it's only capable of doing that. This is a street truck going off-road and capable of doing that because that's what you built it for. So the people know, this truck is all-purpose. And when I say all-purpose, we're going to be doing everything with it. So that makes it even more badass. Continue with some of the details and then what we're going to do.
Yeah. This truck is this will be its 4th NORRA 1000 event for this truck to attend and participate in, whether it was chasing my own race car, chasing a trophy truck, or doing sweep and recovery like we are now. And it just until recently, it was my daily driver. It was my only running vehicle out of all the vehicles that I have. It was the only one that ran. And and then I finally picked up another truck that I'm turning into a pre-runner, and I drive that most of the time and try to keep the miles off this one. But yeah, it definitely gets used. So driving it all the way here from Texas, what we're doing is officially called Sweep and Recovery. And our purpose during this event is to follow the race or be positioned in strategic places on the race course to assist the racers, whether they get stuck in a silt bed, they need help going up a steep, loose hill or something like that, or if they get into a wreck or break down and they need to be recovered out of the backcountry, we will pull them out and bring them to a place where their team can easily access them and load them up or fix them or do whatever they need to do. That's our purpose. We're here to assist the racers in any way they can, aside from actually wrenching on their cars. We won't do a whole lot of that unless we need to fix something to get it to roll to where we're going. So that duty falls on the team itself, on the race team itself. Our job is just to get them somewhere their team can access them safely.
Awesome. So we are here to assist. Sweep and recovery is what we're doing. NORRA 2021. Is there anything else you want to throw in there before we head out and start doing some more interviews and then just get into racing here in the next day or so?
I'm just pumped that you're here, Berto. I appreciate you taking up my invitation to come down and cover the event and do some cool stuff with it and see it. And I really enjoy providing this opportunity to people because there is no better place on earth for me than in Baja, and any opportunity that I can to share that with people. I mean, you saw my stupid smile as soon as we crossed the border, and my truck had been broken into and all of my stuff stolen this morning, and I'm still smiling about it. I don't care. I'll care when I get home and I don't have my tools, but the magic of this place needs to be shared with people that appreciate it, and even some that don't, because they will appreciate it afterwards. And I'm really grateful that I have the opportunities to be able to share it with people that I know and people that I don't know. You know, you've known some of the people that I've brought down here just off of a whim, asked random people, hey, do you want to come down here to Baja? Oh yeah, I'll do that. And it turns out to be the best experience they've ever had. So for everybody listening, I really invite you to come any chance you can, get involved in off-roading and off-road racing and come to Baja and enjoy it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And I like the way you say that. So what I'm really into is passing it on. You know what I mean? I deal with a couple different things, but it's always about the history and what you can pass on to the next generation. And I'm not the next generation. I'm a little bit older than you, but I have kids, you know? So being able to do that helps push this kind of stuff so it doesn't die. I mean, motorsports are something that a lot of people, even in legislation, are trying to kill. Making this bigger for the next generations is super important. So I like the way you push that. And you have literally invited just people and brought it to them. I am kind of one of them. I'm a motorhead. So when you told me there's an invitation, I said, please pick me, because I've always wanted to do this. So here I am, a newbie, and I think it's a really great way to introduce someone like me into this. And for you guys listening, a lot of times on this Truck Talk Media, we interview some guy at a car show recently at a racetrack. This is going to be completely different. So I'm bringing it from a viewer's point that is a novice, and that's me. So don't judge me too harsh because I'm bringing it from a fresh perspective. But I think you guys are really going to enjoy it because I am new. I'm going to ask the questions. And, Bryant, I truly appreciate you bringing me on this. Super pumped, excited. I mean, we are in Mexico. There are people all around us, and you can already see the camaraderie and the shakes, and the nods. It's going to be a great time. You guys stick around. We have Broncos coming at you. We have old body Fords. We have old body Chevys. I've got some people lined up. I'm trying to chase down some Dodges. Of course, I'm a Dodge guy. Bryant is a Dodge guy, so he's along there with me. We're going to chase some of these stories and bring it to you guys. We are doing this for the next 5 to 7 days, and then I guess it's recoup and drive home. So you guys stick around. It's going to be hella fun. All right, guys, this is Humberto Ortiz back here in Mexico doing the Baja thing. I've got a special guest here, Trevor Glidden. He's got one of the sickest square body race trucks out here. Trevor, introduce yourself. First of all, tell me your IG handle and where people can follow you before we get going on this.
Well, my Facebook handle is TJ Glidden Construction, and our race handle is Westham Racing on Facebook as well. Mac West Racing is where you can see us on Instagram. I race with Westham Racing. Dave Westham is the guy who started our race team years ago, and I started driving, 6-7 years ago for him after co-riding with him for the last 15 or so years.
What got you into this, and tell me a little bit of history on the truck itself.
So originally I met Dave Westham in 1987, I think it is. And I was about 13 years old. Dave Westham dropped his keys into the marina at Sunnyside up at Lake Tahoe. And I was a little punk Grom kid. And of course I wanted to grab his keys because he had desert racing stickers of Blunder on his trucks. And obviously, reason being is because Dave had won the 1987 Baja 1000 in the truck that we race here at the Mexican 1000 today. So I've known Dave for a long time. In about 2005 or 6, I started going to score races with Dave and co-rode in some Baja 1000s. And then in 2009, the NORRA was supposed to come back. There was the hurricane that year, so it came back in 2010. But this truck that we race here, the 1978 GMC 1500, was resurrected from a junkyard. It was bought from a junkyard after he tracked it down, and Tony McCormick, our crew chief, built it back to what it is today. So it's a 1978 1500 GMC is what it is.
So this truck, how many races has this truck been in? I mean, multiple over the year. Has it been built up and back down, or is it? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we were just having a conversation about that actually a little while ago because we were wondering how many miles this truck technically has on it. The older guys are figuring it probably has 70,000 miles on it. It's after Dave won the 1987 Baja 1000, he had a new truck that was being built, and that truck he later won a couple Baja 1000s in. But this truck became a pre-runner and was a pre-runner for years and years for him for the bigger race truck and the newer race truck. And so It had years and years of pre-running on it. I think now, since the Mexican one, since NORRA was resurrected and the Mexican 1000 was resurrected, I think we have 10 or 11 Mexican 1000s and NORRA 500 on it. So it's got quite a few miles, actually.
That's amazing. The truck looks great. Obviously, I know you're going through the truck every year and making advances and changing things up for each course. Walk us around the truck a little bit. You told us it was a 78. What power are you running? Axles? What kind of suspension's all in this thing?
Well, it's very stock, quite frankly, with upgrades to a lot of the parts. So it runs a Dana 60 in the rear. It runs a stroke 383, which is really is larger than that now, and it pushes quite a bit of horsepower. Actually, this guy, somewhere in the 600 horse vicinity. We have Brakeman disc brakes on it, which were modified over time. Back in the day, these trucks just had Corvette disc brakes in the front end of them, because the front ends of these was historically 1-ton ambulance axles in the front, or springs in the front, and so it's a stock front end. Over time, it's gone through different modifications. Now we went back to having a 2-inch Fox shock on it, so it could conform to the Legends class. At times we had some King shocks on it and different things where we had bypasses and whatnot, but it really likes the Fox shocks that we have on it right now. Everyone that drives in it loves them as well. The Brakeman disc brakes on it are amazing. What else have we modified? Recently we had to put in a new fuel tank and a new fuel cell in it because it was done for, and so we needed a new fuel cell in her. Other than that, we recently put in an air conditioning unit because we were thinking of running it at the Vegas to Reno and knew it was going to be rather hot. So we put an air conditioning unit in for our Parker pumpers so that we could cool our heads down at least.
That's crazy. I would sit here and think you're just completely lying to me because I'm so new at this. I'm gonna have to go over there and make sure you're not lying to me. That's a race truck I can get into. Plenty of updates here. What are future plans for this truck? It's obviously been on the course, on the road, quite a few years. Any crazy future plans for this?
The future plans for this truck are to run NORRA's. Like I said, we've run a lot of them. I think 10 or 11. I think there's only been 13 total. We've run almost all of them. So, certain years we have to, we have other score races that we need to get to and whatnot. And so sometimes it's hard to make all the races work, but it'll keep running these races a bunch more times for sure. And then one of these days it'll retire and most likely it'll go into a museum one of these days.
Yeah, it absolutely deserves that. You guys get online. You guys follow Trevor, follow the race team he's associated with. You really appreciate the truck after seeing these details or hearing these details. I'm going to be seeing them. I think you'll have a better understanding of what we're talking about and what can be done with one of these trucks with years of service and the right kind of maintenance. Again, check him out online. Go hit that follow button. Support his team, support him, and support racing, man. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Trevor. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank my sponsors, TJ Glidden Construction, Mac West Racing, BF Goodrich, Leon Patton Race Engines, The Brakeman, Method Race Wheels, my dad, Tim Glidden.
Awesome. Of course, support those that support you. All right, guys, we're out. Thank you.
So you bought a C10, and it either had AC at one time or it wasn't even an option. Well, Vintage Air has the solution for you. Their SureFit kits are designed to place the evaporator and hoses behind the dash for a factory clean look. In some applications, a new factory look control panel is included with the kit. The SureFit systems provide full OEM-style operations, including air conditioning, floor or vent heating, and a powerful defroster. To retain a true factory look, the AC air exits through the factory dash louvers, if originally equipped in your truck. The Gen 4 kit provides infinite, just right temperature, air blending, and blower fan speed adjustments. The Vintage Air SureFit kits are the best value and the most completely engineered air conditioning system you can install in your C10. Add the fact that Vintage Air has been the most respected name in performance aftermarket climate control systems for 40 years. Damn, son, the choice is obvious. Vintage Air, BrothersTrucks.com. When you're looking for classic Chevy or GMC truck parts, BrothersTrucks.com is your number one source for 1947 to 87 Chevy and GMC truck restoration parts. So whether you are restoring an original or looking to customize that classic truck, BrothersTrucks.com has thousands of the highest quality truck parts for you to choose from. So head over to BrothersTrucks.com and order your free catalog today. And don't forget to follow Brothers on Facebook and Instagram for daily updates and special offers too.
You've heard me talk about my gauges, Dakota Digital. I love them. Whether you want a direct fit into the stock bezel or something custom. These kits are complete with sensors for any engine. The new RTX series is really incredible. I think it stands for retro, but it should stand for rad. They look just like the stock clusters, but have all the technology you'd expect from Dakota Digital. You can change the lighting colors, customize the reading in the message centers, and do it all from the mobile app. That's right, the HDX and RTX series have Bluetooth technology, so you can mess with them from your phone. Just don't do it while you're driving. It's like a modern truck, but even better in a classic. Dakota Digital is absolutely the best in aftermarket gauges, so check them out at dakotadigital.com. dakotadigital.com. And you can follow them on Instagram and Facebook too.
This is Humberto back. Baja, NORRA 2021. We are doing some off-road racing. As you guys have been listening, we've got a couple interviews in the bag, and I got to tell you, this is probably the one I'm most excited about this weekend. You guys know that I'm a novice to this, but I've done my research, so I'm looking these teams up, and I might not be the biggest Florida guy, but I appreciate everything. One of the things that got to me is just, the winning streak they have, and I'm not going to lie, the mariachi suits do add icing on the cake. There's a certain class, there's something just, I don't know, maybe it brings up morale, but it's a bitchin' way to celebrate and to just put yourself out there and let people recognize you. Boyd, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and, what's your day job, man?
My name is Boyd Janes. We race a 68 Bronco that we call the Caballo del Diablo, which means the horse of the devil. My day job is I'm a photographer and content director for Custom Wheelhouse Method Race Wheels. We love coming down here to NORRA. The Mexican 1000 is a great event. They tailor this event for vintage vehicles, and bring down a 68 Bronco is special, I think, just because Broncos have a lot of heritage in racing in Baja, and I feel privileged to be able to come down and do an event like this and race a Baja in Mexico in this day and age, and do it like the old guys used to do it back in the day. We wear open face helmets and grow mustaches and try to be true to the spirit of what off-road racing was like back in the day.
That's funny you bring up the mustache. The guy I'm with here keeps throwing a razor at me every morning. He's just like, you have enough there, start shaving. I'm like, I don't know about that yet. But so what got you into off-road racing, being with your background and having done this for a little while? How long have you done this? What got you into it?
This is our 11th year racing at NORRA. My background is I'm like I said, a professional photographer. I work primarily in the motorsport space, and a lot of it has been off-road racing in my career, and so I've seen this done. I've been a fan of off-road racing. I've been coming down to Baja and watching the off-road races down here since I was a kid. As soon as we had our driver's licenses, we would come down and watch the racing down here. So when they announced NORRA and said it was a vintage race, and it sounded like something that was attainable, so immediately my then partner and I sought out a Bronco, and fortunately they weren't as hot as they are now, so they were affordable, and we got a nice Bronco and decided to do it. Really off-road racing for me is always, I've always been on the other side of the fence from the actual people participating in the race. I've always been on the media side of things. So being able to actually do it myself, it seemed like it was easy, but it's not. It turned out to be a little more difficult than I thought. But here we are 11 years later, and we've had some success, and it's been great.
That's very cool, man. So what side do you like better? You like behind the lens or behind the steering wheel?
Oh, without a doubt. There's nothing like as we say, there's nothing like driving a vintage Bronco in Mexico with a dirty mustache, and it's so much fun. I mean, it really is. You can't explain the feeling unless you do it, and just come down and driving in off-road in Baja is something special, and add in a little bit of competition, and it just makes it even better.
Absolutely. It looks like there's definite competition out here, but a lot of camaraderie. You know, I've only been here for a little bit, but I've been in some motorsports, and it looks like a lot of people do have that camaraderie. You know, there to help. Just feels right. Everyone out here is here to have a good time. You spoke about your partner, Brian. Highlight him for a little bit.
So, Brian Godfrey is my partner. I tried this a couple of years with someone else, and we didn't have a lot of success. We didn't know what we were doing. My former partner had other things that became a priority in his life, and so we parted ways, and Brian happened to be on my radar on a professional level with what I was doing on the media side of things, and I just asked him flat out, hey, you want to come and race with me? And Brian's been working in this field from a management side for a long, long time. So he brought a level of professionalism that I didn't know even existed, to be honest with you. And even to our stupid little program, he brought a level of professionalism that was amazing. He used to manage a trophy truck team on the highest level of the sport, so he knew what was what and what needed to be done to be successful as far as preparation, logistics, and things like this. That again, just wasn't even aware of that type of organization. So really, when we started getting successful was when I started racing with Brian, and ever since.
And how many years has that been?
That's been, boy, now you're really testing my. It's been 9 years now since Brian's been on board, and in those 9 years we've got 7 wins. Is that right? Yeah, 7 wins. If we can do well, we've had 6 in a row so far. So, you know, NORRA's a relaxed race. It's not the Baja 1000. It's a little different. You mentioned the camaraderie. This race is all about a bunch of guys who are passionate about vintage vehicles. They're passionate about Baja. They're passionate about the type of camaraderie you get coming down to Baja in general. So this is a different type of event than a traditional professional level race in Baja. It's really special to be involved in this. Always happy to come down.
Tell us a little bit about the Bronco. Is this the only Bronco that you guys have put together? Is this version 3? Tell us a little bit. Give us a few specs on it.
So this Bronco is I used to call it the Craigslist Bronco. I bought it off Craigslist in San Diego back in 2009. A 68 Bronco that was owned by a gentleman who had been in his family since it was bought new. And it looked like a racing Bronco when I bought it. It had a cage. It had what I thought was a roll cage, and it had racing type stickers on it. It looked good to go, but it wasn't. And so over the years now, it's a proper race car now. We've spent a lot of time developing the truck and within what we can do with the rules. And so it's a 68 Bronco. We're in Pioneer 4x4 is the name of the class, and so we're limited by what we can do, especially with suspension and in regards to engine as well. So we have pretty much stock suspension, although we have good parts. We've got good manufacturers supporting us, so we have Fox shocks that are just 2-inch smooth body shocks that they're not bypass shocks. We still have coil springs in the front. We use the stock pickups for everything. We use the stock coil buckets, the stock pickups for the leaf springs in the rear. All of it's original, with the exception of the hood, which is fiberglass, and one fender, which was just tearing itself apart. All of it's original sheet metal from 1968. And we've got a Ford Performance 347 stroker motor, which is a variant of the 302 motor that came stock in the Bronco. So, again, we want to try to stay true to what a Bronco was back in the day. Still carbureted, C4 transmission, Dana 20 transfer case, 4 9-inch rear end, Dana 44 in the front. Other than that, it's just roll cage and a couple of knuckleheads behind the wheel.
I'm sure that's the best part of the vehicle. I mean, it's a winning vehicle. It sounds like the parts list of this Bronco is something that, I mean, I don't want to sound, I don't want it to come across the wrong way, but a lot of people could put this vehicle together. It's not crazy and unattainable. It's somewhat even affordable in motorsports when compared to a lot of things that you just go crazy on, changing everything. I mean, it's a one-off everything. So this one sounds like it's got a lot of parts on it that, you know, your local team could probably put together. But obviously it's the talent behind the wheel. That pushes me to my next question. You know, I'm a novice at this. It's my first year seeing this. It's a really cool thing to see. I encourage it to anybody that's interested in motorsports to give it a try. But what do you tell that young kid that's out there, you know, daydreaming? I mean, there's some young Mexican kids out here. You see them smiles, you know, giving you the thumbs up as you're going through town. Even what do you give to the young guys, encouraging them to want to go out and do this? What's the avenues for this?
Well, I think what the beauty of this event in particular, the NORRA Mexico 1000, is that it is attainable because you can bring a stock old truck and run it. There's a class for pretty much anything here. I mean, they even got Volkswagen Vanagons here. Yeah, it is attainable in comparison to the top level of this sport, which is like a trophy truck or something. It's not even comparable at all, but it's still expensive. I mean, just coming down here and burning up 1,300 miles worth of fuel at 5 miles a gallon is expensive. So I wouldn't pretend that this is something cheap, even at the level that we're doing it. But yeah, it is something that is accessible to more people, I think, because you could just come and bring a Ranger and put a cage in it and race it, or anything, or an old F-100 Ford pickup truck, or run what you brung. I mean, that's what this race really is. Whereas if you go to one of the other formulas of off-road racing, you couldn't be competitive. But at NORRA, you can, and that's what was attractive for us, because we realized we didn't have the talent or the bankroll to do something on a high level. But here, it's perfect. It's a perfect fit for us.
I really dig it, man. It does seem attainable. And I think there's a lot of guys out there that want to get into racing of some sort, off-road racing, and just need that avenue and just need the information. So I appreciate you just kind of putting that out there and letting people know, how NORRA is put together and what is available out here. There's a lot of good race cars out here, a lot of good teams, and I think the ending to this is really just like you said, run what you brung, really enjoy what you're doing. And, do it for the right reasons, learn, pass it on. So, Boyd, man, I really appreciate you sitting down with me and just kind of going through this. I know it's just a jumble. You guys have a lot going on. We're not even racing yet. We got a whole week of that going on. So it's my pleasure to sit here and talk with you about this, man. Like I said, I'm a novice, and this stuff it's not good for me. I'm going home, and like my gears are turning already. I'm like, I got this truck at home. It's not in that great a shape. I think I could swap some parts.
I'll tell you this is going to cost you.
Well, I do know racing, and it feels like you dig a hole in the backyard and just throw money in it. So
that's 100% what you do.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. So we're gonna go back home. We're gonna reconfigure everything. Maybe sell a few things off, and I don't know. Maybe Boyd will see me next year in a truck. Who knows? I'm not that talented, but who knows what's next? Boyd, any last shout outs or anything like that?
No, I want to thank first and foremost my wife. Brian and I both spend a lot of time and we have very understanding spouses. So, but really the companies that help us out, we're fortunate that we get some support from some great companies, and mainly Yokohama Tires and Method Race Wheels, Fox Shocks, Ford Performance, and Deaver. The list goes on and on and on. Rigid Lights, they all help us out. So, we're fortunate, and really it's a pleasure to come down to Mexico and race. And the people of Mexico and the people of Baja in particular, they embrace us every time we come down here, and it's a pleasure to come down here every time.
Absolutely, man. Support those that support you. In closing, what are your IG handles, Facebook handles? Where can we see this stuff going on?
Our Instagram is Caballo del Diablo. It's CABALLODELDIBLO. Caballo del Diablo, which is the horse of the devil, because if you ever driven a Bronco off-road, you know what I'm talking about.
We'll leave you with that. Awesome, guys. Thank you. All right, guys, we are back at it. This is the Mexican 1000. This is Baja, NORRA 2021. We are at the starting line today for day 3 of racing. We are in Baja de Los Angeles. That is the Bay of LA. It's a beautiful place. Windy as crap, but wow, you can't ask for a better view for start and a finish. So usually they do a peninsula run, which means they start north, head all the way south to Cabo. This year, because of COVID restrictions, they've had to make a loop. This is where the loop is made. They again start here at the Baja de Los Angeles, and they go through some terrain, quite a bit of terrain today, very little transit. So they are mostly going to be going through terrain, through the desert, making I believe it was 250-mile loop, and back here for the finish later this evening. We're at the starting line. We've seen about 15 cars go. I'm going to grab some interviews. All right, guys, here in NORRA 2021, the Mexican 1000, we're at day 3 of racing, and I have one of the team members for Westham Racing. That's Trevor Glidden's truck, the 78 C10 step side. Introduce yourself, sir.
I'm Randy Selmont. I've been racing with Dave Westham for, almost 30 years. I sold the guy his first race truck. As a matter of fact, that truck I sold him.
No, so I heard a story, I guess it was just last night, of how the truck got recovered from a used car lot or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely true. I sold the car to Dave, and many years later when he built his new car, he sold it. And then when NORRA came about, we said, we got to find that truck. And it was on some used car lot in like Arizona.
That's ridiculous, man.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, to find that truck again. That's awesome.
Yep. It's a unique truck. It was built originally by Cal Wells at PPI for Jeff McPherson. Became quite a race car driver in his own. And then it was bought from Jeff McPherson by Michael Nesmith, the monkey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then Michael and I raced together for a while. And then I sold that car to Dave Westham when I bought a new car.
So, vintage racing is vintage. This truck has come almost full circle.
It is, and it is actually a true vintage car. It's stock A-arms. They're gusseted and all that stuff. But those front A-arms are stock, the springs are stock, the spindles are stock. The rear end's changed, but it still leaves springs in the rear, coils up front. Everything's in the original mounting location, so it's an honest vintage car.
That's so awesome to hear. So how's the racing going so far? Day 3, how are y'all holding up?
We're doing great. Day 1 was flawless. Trevor drove day 1, moved up quite a few spots. I drove day 2. We did have a little bit of trouble. We've got had a motor mount break, and the motor shifted a little, and we got that fixed last night. Other than that, it's been a perfect run. That car runs like a banshee. Day
3, they're super happy. They're going on. This is today again is a loop, so we'll meet here again to see if we can get some post interviews. Make sure that truck is put together. Of course, you guys know I'm on a sweep team, so as the saying goes, hope we don't see you again.
I hope I don't see you again, my friend. Thank you.
Right on. Thank you. All right, guys, we found another early Bronco. I think you guys might be familiar with this one on the podcast. This is Chris Greenwood's number 35. I'm here with some of their crew. Introduce yourselves, guys.
I'm Phil Lindemuth. Jeremy Johnson.
Awesome, guys. How's it going out there so far?
We've been doing pretty good so far. We've been pretty lucky. Had a close call yesterday. Did a little bit of body modification, but we kept it on the wheels, and everything's been working out great.
That's awesome to hear. Jeremy, tell me a little bit about the vehicle itself.
Well, in 2018, we pulled this out of a field, and 10 months later, you had a race car.
That's a little bit easier than I think. It's easier said than done, but go on.
Yeah, there was a lot of hours involved, lots of other people involved, a lot of help from people, but yeah, what you see is the result of a whole lot of time in the garage. So
awesome. So how long have you guys been a crew? How long has this thing been on the road?
It has been. This is our second time down here in Baja. We raced a couple times in Nevada. Did the
we did the Silver State 300 and also the Vegas to Reno.
Awesome, that's good to hear. Well, thank you guys for giving me a little bit of your time, and we wish you good luck today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, back at the Mexican 1000. I've been trying to catch this crew for a while. Not only do they look pretty, but so does their ride. It's a K5. What year is this Kelson racing K5, man?
It's a 71.
And introduce yourself for me.
Brandon Williams out of Lake Havasu City, Arizona, with Kelson Motorsports.
Badass. Who's on your crew? Who's co-driving? Give me some info.
Today I'm driving the full leg with Jorgen Hansen, which is my brother-in-law, and then we have Larry King, Tom Coons, Wade Kelson, and Steve Helmerson on our team.
All right, so you guys mentioned to me a guy here standing to my right. Introduce yourself, sir.
Top of the morning, Wade Kelson.
Wade, nice to meet you. What's your part in this rig?
I just try to survive day to day. That's my part. You know what? It's a team effort. We come out here this is definitely a team deal. Everybody puts in 110%, and we're trying to make it to see it to the end and have a good time while we're doing it.
Absolutely. It sounds like everybody's having a good time so far.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the ticket. You guys, like I said, I'm on a sweep team, so I've seen you guys, doing some maintenance here and there. Anything big to worry about? How's the rig going so far?
So far, so good. We've had a couple little problems here and there. We had a little fire going on yesterday, but we got that put out and had some power steering problems. But out of 1,000 miles, that's just a little bit of problem for us. So
I mean, that's racing without fail. And this is is this a brand new rig? Something you guys just put together?
I think it's been kind of a 3-year process of building this thing, and then it's finally got together, and now we're out here racing. This is our first NORRA and the first race for this vehicle, so pretty awesome.
Awesome. Give us an IG handle or Facebook handle. We can go check this out.
Kelson Motorsports on Instagram or Kelson Motorsports on Facebook. You can tag us, hashtag us. We'll see you guys out there. Thank you.
All right, you guys know the biz. Go out there, like, share, do it all for the motorsports world.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Y'all give us a big old hoo-ha.
Yeah!
See you on the next one.
Hey guys, I have Andrew from Painless on. Andrew, our guys are thinking about rewiring their truck. Why should they choose Painless Performance?
Well, Ronnie, we've been doing it 30 years now. We're American made, American proud. We have unmatched tech support. You'll get one of our guys right here in Fort Worth, Texas if you have a call. And, our installation manual is full color and covers everything you need to know.
You guys offer a ton of different varieties. Break that down a little bit for us.
Yeah, so we cover everything from 63 to 87, specific C10 harnesses. It'll be, a little more plug and play for kind of a stock or lightly modified truck. But then for those real radical, smooth firewall, air ride, crazy builds, we have the Pro Series. It'll have all the connectors, terminals, everything you need, but you can custom fit it, hide the wiring, and build it to your build.
There you go, guys. You get rid of that 40-plus-year-old wiring. You get easy-to-read printed wiring. PainlessPerformance.com. They've got you covered if you want to go OG Classic or if you want to go something customized. Thanks, Andrew. PainlessPerformance.com. With a company history dating back to 1949, Airlift Performance brings a dedication and expertise to those looking for a life on air. Their 3H system combines pressure-based control with ride height sensing technology, harnessing both systems, including an intuitive handheld controller providing at-a-glance status of pressure and height conditions. Every 3H system comes standard with Bluetooth technology built right in, and a free companion mobile app allowing wireless control for most smartphones and mobile devices. Designed for a life on air. AirliftPerformance.com. Hey guys, I've got Kathy White, Classic Performance Products, CPP on the line. Kathy, how's it going?
Hey Ronnie, what's up?
What's up? What's new?
We've got a ton of things for the C10 community. First things first, our 2.5-inch Extreme X10 drop spindle. So we've upgraded the current modular spindle to modern technology. This new X10 spindle is a one-piece forged, but it utilizes strong, modern, bolt-in, internally sealed bearing hub assembly. So it's low maintenance. It doesn't move the wheels out, and you can use big brakes from us or any aftermarket big brakes out there in the market.
That's awesome. What else is new?
So we have actually gone back and redesigned our aluminum fuel tanks. As you know, our fuel tanks are the thickest, strongest, and largest capacity in the industry. But now you can actually use the same tank for either a carbureted or a fuel injection application. 63 to 72, it's 20 gallons, and for 73 and newer, 22-gallon capacity.
How about that coilover kit? You guys must be killing it with that thing.
That is such a great kit. It's fully bolt-on. It's easy to install. Strongest tubular arms in the market, available with either upper and lower or just the lowers or just a coilover kit by themselves. All the mounting brackets that you need, and it also comes with dual adjustable coilover shocks. So it's really responsive. It's up to you however you want to tune the compression or the rebound. It's perfect if you're just cruising on the streets, and it's proven on the track.
Well, that's what we like. So if you need spindles, the new X10, fuel tanks, Coilovers, they've got it. Classic Performance Products, CPP. And don't forget, use code C10TALK, C10TALK at checkout and save 10%. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, Ronnie.
All right, Truck Talk listeners, if it sounds a little bit different, it is because we are back home. There's probably a little bit quieter, less wind, less beach, not as pretty where I am at least. So we are back home. This is post-interview from the NORRA 1000 in Baja. And I've got a really cool guest here. I've got Chris Sullivan from El Santo Racing. He has a 1966 F100. I asked Chris to be a part of this so I could talk to him personally about the truck. Chris, if you don't mind, introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about yourself and your background. What do you do?
Yep, my name is Chris Sullivan, as you said. Thanks for having me. I used to be an aerospace guy. I started out as an engineer and then ended up making my way up to program management. And then last year during COVID, I got laid off in July. So I decided to go back to my roots and start a construction company. I'm building patio covers and doing landscapes and just prettying up people's houses for them. That's pretty much where I'm at today.
Nice. Tell us about El Santo Racing, man. This truck stuck out to me. I mean, like a sore thumb. The coolest thing about the truck, what I love about the truck is obviously where you got the name. You have a big design on your truck. Tell us what that is. And, before you start, give us a Facebook or IG handle. Let people know where they can go and see some of this racing and some of your projects.
Okay. On Instagram, it's either Chris Sullivan, Baja 535, or El Santo Racing for Instagram or Facebook. And you can find us there and you'll find a lot of photos and videos and things like that.
Awesome. Now tell us about this. Tell us about this name and some of these graphics, especially on your hood.
Well, it started when I found the truck. It was white and rusty, just kind of patina, right. But it wasn't a pretty patina. And so I kind of just filled in the crap with white primer at first. And then my navigator, Armando Cisnado, he's a longtime Baja guy. He came by and he said, "Oh man, it's white. This thing's like El Santo." And we were just joking about it. My wife's from Ensenada. She's Mexican. So she heard it and she said, "Oh, that's perfect." And there's a Bronco out there called the Caballo del Diablo, right?
Yeah,
the Devil Horse.
Yeah. We talked with those guys.
Yeah, Boy Jane's really cool guy,
yes.
a good pal. And I thought, oh, we could do kind of a little, a rivalry almost. And it turns out, we're very competitive with each other because we're both in Pioneer classes. Okay. Right? I'm Pioneer trucks, he's Pioneer 4x4, and there's Pioneer buggies. And so the El Santo name kind of stuck. And then I started researching, about El Santo. I had seen the TV shows when I was a young kid. They're black and white. And El Santo was the most famous Mexican luchador from the 60s. And so it just all kind of made sense to me. You got the saint, the devil and the look. And we brought masks out to the first race, the 500 in 2019 and kind of just had fun with it. The truck was a little ugly then, but everybody loved it, right? A lot of them told me, don't ever paint it, don't do anything. But I had this idea of the truck that I want. Mm-hmm. And so we came up with that color scheme and the hood and all that, the big mask on the hood. That's, and the fans in Mexico, they love El Santo. They love the whole theme. It's, we have kind of a pretty good following now.
Yeah, that's, one of the things I praised when people ask me, the locals and the people, they really, really embrace this off-road racing. I mean, I had an idea, but I didn't have this well of an idea of how, saturated that culture is with off-road racing and how they do embrace it. It's a really cool thing to have the racers kind of, I don't want to say give back, but kind of embrace it themselves to include everything. You said your wife was from Ensenada. Where are you from? Where do you hail from?
I was born and raised in LA, Los Angeles, moved around California, went to school in Arizona. I've got kind of a checkered past. I've lived in San Diego a few times, LA, Maui, Chicago, and ended up back in San Diego for the last 10 years, 11 years. So
wow.
this is my home.
That makes a little bit of sense. It's a little too convenient for you to just go south and go racing, isn't it?
It's great. It's great. Yeah, like you said, the fans down there, they're the best fans in the world in my book.
Absolutely. Like I've said before on this podcast that you guys will hear, I'm new to this, novice. Geez, I'm stuck. Like I want to build something. It is so captivating, and guys like you know, I'm very envious of, because you know you guys embrace this and go at it. I'm from a completely different world, you know, on the stuff that I build and I'm used to, but I want to jump in, you know, head first and really get after this like you guys. And when I say you guys, I mean team. This doesn't happen with one person. I caught you guys during tech and contingency with a little bit of photo op with another Ford truck, and y'all's team, all blue shirts. There was a bunch of you guys. Give me a highlight of your team. What makes this work?
Well, this is, you know, it's kind of just a family and close friends thing. We have a couple of pals that we raced with. My brother and I started back in the early 2000s racing in buggies and class 1 cars and things. And we had a good friend, Will Domshot. He was one of my navigators. And then my sister, Sue, she's pretty much the queen of Baja and the mom of all racing teams, pretty much. If anybody needs anything, she handles it, but she organizes the whole thing, all of the logistics for hotels and all that stuff. She has a van full of food and all the things, so that, you know, we're comfortable at the end of the day. We show up, we're working on the truck, and she's there. But
I don't think people appreciate that side of this racing. It's racing, and having a co-driver it's just a small part of it. I mean, there is so much more to this.
There's a lot more to it. And, you know, I have 2 of my nieces there and a couple nephews, and then my 2 sisters, my wife, my brother was there. He's he's an old racer too. And he knows how to chase, and he understands where he's got to be. We talk about mileages every day, do all those things. You know, where do we need gas? Where we have a problem? You know, luckily this was a really clean race for us with very few issues. So it was really just about the logistics of being at the right place in the right time, make sure we have fuel, give a quick check, and then go, you know, on to the next race section. And then at the end of the day, we have a couple of really good friends that are good mechanics. This one kid, Will Glenwinkle, I call him a kid. He's 30 probably. But Will Glenwinkle, he's another NorCal guy, and he is just exceptional, right? He's so into it. He's built his own trucks. He's got a beautiful, you know, long travel truck. He helped me on the build with this one. So yeah, it's a huge thing. You could probably do it with, you know, 5 or 6 people. But I sure like having the rest of the crew along, because they just, you know, like you did, your first time down there, you saw what the event is like. And we had 5 people that were first timers, you know, and they fell in love with it. They want to go back. They're ready. You know, if we were racing next week, they'd be ready to go back. So
yeah, same event. Same. So is this generational for you? Is this something like you and your, you know, dad, uncles have done for a while, or is this something that you got into and kind of are making it a family affair and passing it down?
I'll tell you, I'll try to make this as quick as I can. When I was about 8 years old in LA, my 2 brothers worked at a place called Lubin Industries, and it was a guy, Lou Fuentes and Ben Ford. And Ben Ford's the grandson of Henry. But Ben's son raced motorcycles, and Lou's son raced motorcycles, and they also prepped and chased the Parnelli Jones Bronco, you know, the Strott Bronco. They were hooked up with Strott. So one day my brother came home. He had the truck. He was going to take the Bronco out to, I think, a Barstow Vegas race. And this is probably, like I say, 74 or 75. And I got home from school, and that Bronco was on the back of this, you know, bobtail truck with a flatbed. And I just couldn't believe what I saw. You know, I'd never seen anything like it in my life. And I thought, I am in love with this, whatever it is. Well, it took about 20 years. And then my brother, Steve, my older brother, he called me and said, hey, I bought a race car. And I thought he was going to have, you know, a dragster or something. So I show up at his house, and here he's got this buggy. It was a old Beam car. But it was a class 1, and he had LS1 in it. It was fast as hell. And the suspension couldn't keep up, but he was fast in it. And I started taking photos the first the first year. This was in 03 or something. And helping him build, prep the car and do all those things. But I took photos at the races. And then I thought, well, I got to do this myself. So I built a Baja bug. And then he and I built another Class 1 car, unlimited, buggy that was great. And then in 2012, I built a Bronco for the NORRA. Yeah, I built a Bronco 68. And we raced that 4 years. And then I rolled it the last year, close to La Paz. And we finished. But we had a series of problems. We got there late. The finish line was closed. We showed up at the party. All the Bronco guys were like, "Hey, how are you?" It was a good deal.
Alive.
Yeah. And then I sold it to Brad and Roger Lovell, and they're sponsored by Amsoil. They've raced it and won races with it. They won the NORRA in their class a few times with it. And I was kind of out of it. And I said, I'm just going to buy a razor or something to go play in the dirt. And as I was looking for razors, this ad came up on a 66 F100 in Vegas. And I looked at it. It looked like it was already built. It had an engine cage and had a cage in the cab. And so I thought, I'm just going to go get it. Yeah. It's like $4,000. I drive out there and pick it up, and it's got a brand new motor. And okay, it's ready. And then I got it home. That was October of 2018. And so I started researching, cage tube sizes. What do you need? And then I looked for a tubing bender, and I figured, okay, I'm just going to do this in my garage. Well, I had to rip everything out and start fresh. So I built the cab cage first, and I had to build that twice because the seats, they're very short cab. Yeah. So you can't really fit. So I had to change the cross braces, but I built that, and then I built the engine cage and got that ready for the suspension, and then built the back cage with that Kid Will that I was talking about. And then I met a guy named Mark Stahl, and you might have heard his name. He's a multi-time, Baja champion. And
yeah, of course.
And he's got a 79 F100 that was the old Fillmore Ford truck.
Okay.
And so I met him at this off-road event and said, "Hey, do you mind if I pick your brain for a minute?" And he had some stuff on a chair, and he clears off the chair and he says, "Here, sit down." And we talked for an hour about, he was so welcoming, and you think, some of these kind of famous guys might not be that way. Best guy in the world. And he gave me a lot of tips. When I was getting ready to do the front shocks, he said, "Hey, you need my little tool. It'll set up the shock angles on the beams right, so you don't mess up your the swivel joints on the end of the shocks." And so a lot of help from him doing that. But and then I built it, and I found out I had a stock 390 in it. It was fresh. It had been sitting in this guy's garage for 14 years fresh, right? Oh. in Vegas, but it was dry, right? So I thought, well, okay. And I bore scoped the cylinders, and I poured some Marvel Mystery Oil in there and fired it up, and it ran pretty good. And I went and dynoed it and kind of, I checked the caps and everything first before I did that. But it was a decent motor. So, okay, 285 horsepower, 390, kind of heavy. But I thought a torque motor for off-road is actually a good thing. And it's been an awesome motor because it's got that, you don't have to rev the hell out of it. It's got really good, long, deep power, And
well, that's what I found out is torque is the trick out there. I mean, you've got all sorts of terrain, and sand and all that. You're worried about getting out of these places, not so much just blazing a trail as much on some of these races.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And
so it's the same engine. You're still running the same engine?
Same engine. I had the transmission built by a
awesome.
race guy.
Yeah.
So it's got a good transmission. But yeah, the motor's good, and the motor can outrun the suspension.
Okay.
And that's really, whenever you're building a race vehicle, you're always having to look at where are my weak links, right? Mm-hmm. And what do I have to have for, if I have this much horsepower and I can get that much speed, does my suspension hold up, or my axles and my drive shaft, and you kind of work your way through back and forth, right?
Yeah. That part of the sport is very entertaining to me, the engineering when it comes to that, because it seems like you can over engineer, say, a suspension and not have the motor to push it, or the opposite. You can over-engineer an engine, and you have to dial the engine back because, like you said, your suspension can only handle so much. So it's definitely racing. I grew up doing some drag racing, so this is not drag racing, but motorsports is motorsports. I can definitely appreciate it. So, okay, so you've got your truck. You found it, you've put it together, you've named it. Fast forward to this year. How did we end up? Did we have any major issues, any breakdowns? And how did you finish?
So I got the first day I got a 10-minute penalty.
Wow.
I wasn't, the rally rules are interesting how they work. You have to pay attention to everything. And sometimes they have a transit section between two race sections, right? So you go down the highway and they give you a minimum maximum time. And I was early by a minute, and it was a 10-minute penalty because what they don't want is slower guys going in front of real fast guys, right? But I had put myself there, so I thought I'd just keep going, right? The truck's running good. I don't want to stop. And I hadn't thought about it. So I got a 10-minute penalty. And then I got stuck for about 10 minutes one time. And my buddy, Randy Ludwig, he was in his Bronco, and it was in the sand, and there was a car broke down, and these guys waved me around, and it was kind of the wrong path. So I got stuck, and then Randy pulled me out. So I lost, maybe 15, 20 minutes there. And I thought, this is not good. Cause I was looking for the Pioneer overall when Pioneer trucks, everybody backed out. So if I finish, I win. And that's kind of an asterisk, right?
It's not as fun.
No. So I was competing against, Boyd Janes and another buggy. And, we got done the first day and my leaf springs are loose. And I thought, there's the one thing I didn't prep, right, was my U-bolts on the leaf springs.
Right.
Dumbass. And I felt stupid, right? And then I had my starter didn't work a couple of times. Like it wouldn't start, and I rewired another button, and so
things happen. It's nice to know you can do it on the fly though. That's what's neat and interesting watching these teams, after the race or on the side of on the side of the racetrack is, guys just figuring it out. Again, we were part of a sweep team and we went out into the middle of some places. One of them was the Diablo lake bed, and there was a buggy there just chilling. And we walk up and we're like, you guys need a pull. We get out of the way. They sit there and revamp the rotor on the distributor and jumped back in and took off.
Yeah.
So you got to be very resourceful, it seems like.
Baja fixes are it's good to be mechanical down there and be able to think outside of the norms, right? Because
absolutely.
Sometimes you have to fix something. But other than that, we had one fuel filter that kind of clogged up, and it kept us slow on that Bay of LA loop that day. But on the rest of the sections, we were competitive with Boyd, and then he started having problems, right?
Yeah, unfortunately he did.
Yeah, so that's too bad because I really just wanted to compete with him and see how we do that way. But we ended up winning the Pioneer class overall, of course, the truck class. Right. I brought home a bitchin' Steve McQueen trophy, that's about.
Dude, those trophies they are so bitchin'. They're badass.
That's my best trophy of my life. We won the 500 a couple of years ago, and the trophy was more of the same Baja map with on top of a nice marble. It's a nice trophy. Sure. But that one is just beautiful. That's cool. I'll treasure that one for a long time.
Absolutely, that's fun. The wins are fun, and the hardware is cool. The stories, I think, are the ones that always last. But having a piece of hardware to start the conversation is absolutely a fun part of it. Now, future plans. Like I said, the truck looks great. You guys, got a good solid win out there. What's next for you?
It's a kind of period correct class specific thing for the Pioneer class for NORRA. So it's not a truck that would be competitive in a lot of other series. Mm-hmm. So we're going to continue racing the NORRA. We love the whole thing, and Mike Perlman and Eliseo and that whole team, they do a great job.
Yeah, I think their names need to be said more. Again, I'm new to this, but Mike Perlman, I spoke to him briefly when it was all said and done, and I know he was tired and he was already thinking how to wrap everything up and get settled up. He took time to talk to me about this stuff because I told him what I was doing. Super nice guy. Eliseo, just the things that are probably going through his head during the race week. I couldn't imagine the stuff he has to deal with. So it's neat to see all these guys involved in it and just passionate about it, from the racers like yourself to sweep crews that I was involved with, just loving the sport and helping people out, to your people that are, heading these things like Eliseo. It's just a really neat culture to be a part of. And a lot of that is in motorsports racing, but I found this just a little bit more different, a brotherhood, camaraderie. It's really fun being a part of, for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of that's an interesting one. The, one of my favorite stories from the race is, it was on day 5, and we were coming out of Mike's Sky Ranch on our way to Vita Trinidad, and we just seen one of the Manx buggies go off a cliff. I don't know if you guys drug him out of there.
We weren't called on that one, but our other sweep crew was.
Was it? Those always bother me, right? Because I thought, oh God, we're coming up. The guy, he had just passed us, and we had it in the bag, so I wasn't pushing real hard.
Right.
And so I get to this corner, and the corner I think is named after like Kurt Leduc or some one of the famous racers, because one of those guys went off of that years ago. And so anyway, it's a left hand turn with a big valley on the right, and then a right hander where 50 yards further along, and I was looking for the guy's dust around this mountain pass kind of thing.
Right.
And I asked my navigator, Will, I said, hey, where did that guy go? And he says, I think he went off the edge. And I said, oh shit, this could be bad. So I'm looking, trying to look out of the truck, and I said, look down there, see if he's on his wheels. Did he drive off or did he roll off? Right. And he says, no, he looks like he drove off. I said, oh, good. I'm glad that guy has good reactions, right? Because I dream of that every time. I think of those, and I think if I'm going off, I want to try to drive down.
Yeah. How will I do this? Yeah. Best case of a worst case scenario.
So that's just the prelude to the story. So I'm on the radio talking to the weatherman. PCI race radios do the radios. They're great people too.
Absolutely.
And so I said, hey, this guy's off the cliff. He looks like he's on his wheels. I think he's okay. I can't do anything here. And just as I'm telling that story, another guy says, number 26 is broke down with a transmission problem. And that's Boyd James.
Yeah.
So he was a half mile further down the road. So I pull over and I'm like, hey, what's going on, Boyd? And he says, transmission. And I said, well, you want to strap up? Let's go. And he says, oh, I'd love to. Okay. So he puts a strap on and we drag him 9 miles into Vita Trinidad.
No way.
Right? Yeah. And we drop him off at his chase truck, on a downhill slope so he can just roll it on the trailer. And, I've been out there before broken and it sucks.
Yeah.
He would have been there for a long time.
Absolutely.
But the headline in my mind is El Santo delivers El Diablo from the pits of hell to the Valley of the Trinity.
Did you run this by Boyd? I don't know if he's going to like that subtitle and title mix there.
I told him that I was gonna do a press release, and he goes, "Yeah, you should."
He's such a cool guy. He's so easygoing. Again, he's just a motorhead. He just likes the the camaraderie and the action. So I didn't hear that being part of the sweep crew. We heard about the guy going off the edge. They said something like 100 and 125 foot down. It looked like he missed the turn. I guess he missed the turn or took it wide and ended up, overcorrecting and slid the back end of the buggy out. And he actually slid backwards down it. So it was the best case scenario because as he's going backwards, he's pointing up. Yeah. So when the sweep crew came and winched him out of there, they winched him straight out. It was a little bit slow of a process, but they winched him straight out. They gave the car once over and then he finished.
Man, I'm glad he's okay. That one was it always worries you. You don't want people to get hurt out there.
Oh God, no. I couldn't imagine being strapped into one of the seats there and, seeing the edge and then being over it. So no major casualties or anything. We had maybe a broken shoulder or dislocated, another gentleman, I think maybe with these were motorcycle guys.
Bikes.
So, but nothing major. I mean, some trucks dropping off, the car count day 1, heavy, day 2, just falling off, day 3, day 45, it starts getting thinner But again, that the endurance of the racers and the machines is really neat to witness. I mean, I had a heck of a time. I'm glad you had a heck of a time. I'm glad you got a big OW. Racing against, your peers and people that, you've known for a while is always fun. I love the camaraderie, El Santo, El Diablo. That is a really cool mix. I hope to see that over and over. And the buddy I went with, Bryant Blakemore, he wants to race the 500 in October. And he's already asking me, he's just like, do you think you want to go? And sign me up. I don't know what I want to do. Yeah. I don't know what you want me to do, but it's what you said earlier. I'm ready to go back. Just take me back, so it's really fun. And it's neat to, sit down and talk with someone like you after the storm, so when everything's settled down, you can kind of review it. So again, guys out there, Chris Sullivan with El Santo Racing, you guys go look him up on Facebook, IG, check out his truck, check out his bitchin' trophy he's talking about, and throw some likes out there and some follows.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for your time. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. The NORRA Mexican 1000 in the books. Quite literally in the books. We have the final standings. I encourage you guys to go online to NORRA.com. That's NORRA.com. That stands for National Off-Road Racing Association. You guys get online. You can check out everything I've talked about, from the ranch to the final standings, and see it for yourself, inform yourself, see the rules, see the classes, all kinds of great information on there. But please go support. I obviously need to thank a few people. First and foremost, Bryant Blakemore, the Quacha Motorsports, for taking me along and opening my eyes to this world of off-road racing and motorsports. Without him and his bit of expertise and kind of throwing me in there and in the mix and, kind of teaching me a few things and putting me in front of the right people, I wouldn't have had this experience. So a big thanks to him. A huge thanks to the guys that make this happen, especially the guys, I was able to work with somewhat closely. Mike Perlman, the man in charge, second generation going on to a third generation, his son, I believe, that is head of this whole vintage racing in Mexico and keeping all this alive. I mean, he's keeping off-road racing alive through this organization and through the vintage class. It's not named the happiest race on earth for any reason, but because it is, and because of his leadership, it stays that way. Speaking of leadership, I have to give a big shout out to Eliseo Garcia. The logistics and the amount of contacts and the amount of the fires he has to put out is on another level. He's out of Ensenada. He deals with so much on the organization of this race. That's a tough job, but he does it with a smile. He knows everything about the towns. He knows everything about the racers. He knows everything about the rules. He's the one in charge of penalties and timing and regulations and everything. He's got a whole bunch on his plate to deal with, and he does a great job at it. I personally dealt with Valerie Douglas, who was head of the sweep teams. She and her husband, they've got their own sweep vehicle. It's a Bronco. It is pretty bitchin' in its own right. And the amount of knowledge she has was amazing to witness. So I was very proud to be a part of that team and that leadership. Like I said, I'd love to do it again. It was quite an experience. I encourage you guys to go look it up, even get involved, obviously get involved. A big thank you to the racers and the locals who are just awesome. The racers obviously, just love the sport, love participating just like anybody else in any other motorsports. The racers make it a lot more inviting. They're really open to talking to you. They're out there pitting, they're out there on the course, they're out there after the race, just being one of us. Like I said, wrenching on the trucks when they have to, and just busting ass and getting to the next destination, and having a taco and a beer in between, obviously, is one of the best parts. The locals who are just ecstatic to have this kind of motorsports going through their towns, their back roads, their country. It's really neat to see how they embrace this. It gives me a new appreciation for Mexican racing and just what's involved in it. So there were over 100 entries, and of course that's a low number. That may be just over half of what is usually participating in this event. This is of course COVID numbers, but tons of classes. You have Legend 4x4 to Legend truck to Pioneer truck to Vintage open truck, and I mean 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, all sorts. Of course, the vintage stuff is what kind of pulls me. But in all of that, I think there were maybe 20 vehicles or so that did not finish. Most of them mechanical problems, and I believe we had one fire, one total loss. It was a small incident, but it's something that I think that can happen commonly, unfortunately. And it was on the UTV, and they had to witness it burn to the ground. Of course, it's all in the desert, so it burns in its own pile and ashes, and then it was recovered by the team. So that's very unfortunate, but also that is racing. Glad that everybody was safe this year. No major casualties, people or cars. So that's always good to hear. Just a very exciting time. All right, let me go over some of the final standings. You guys heard me interview some of these guys and talk about them throughout the podcast, and I just wanted to let you know where they stood. We had a few people. Trevor Glidden in the number 81178 GMC. He finished first in the Legend Truck, 32nd overall. Boyd James, the number 26 Bronco. He did not finish on the last day due to mechanical problems. I believe he went through 2 transmissions and just called it on the last day. He did finish overall. He did not finish the last part of the course. He was in the Pioneer 4x4. Chris Greenwood, Legend 4x4 in his 72 Bronco, finished 57th overall. Chris Sullivan finished first in Pioneer Truck, 35th overall in his number 866 F100. Kelson Motorsports in their 71 K5 finished 39th overall and second in Vintage Open Truck 4x4. So a lot of these guys I was following, did really well. It does not go without fail to have some problems. It's how they put it back together and finish is the important thing. And most every one of these guys that I was following was pretty neat to see them go through the tribulations and just what motorsports and racing is, and that's seeing it through and building a machine that can make it through. So it's really neat to see all these quality builds, and I hope you guys go and look them up. We've tagged them along through the podcast. Go out there, give them some likes, some follows, tell them where you heard about them, and hit us back with some tags, some stories, or whatever else you guys have. I just want to say a big thank you for listening, hearing my take as a novice on this just awesome race, and the race they call the happiest race on earth, and they do that for a reason. So you guys share, like, throw some comments on there, and keep these projects moving and help us keep the custom automotive scene alive. Thank you. I'm out.
Go on. Get your ass out of here.